Hello, and welcome to a new episode of our Drugs and Behavior podcast.
Yay.
This week we are on episode 13, Sip Happens, How Caffeine Impacts Sleep. So, I am Reese.
Yes. I'm Katie.
And today we are talking about how caffeine impacts sleep, as mentioned in our title. Alright, Katie, take it away.
Alright, so we thought to start out we would cover some past research on this topic. First, why does this matter? So, we've noticed a lot of people drink caffeinated beverages like coffees and energy drinks, especially college students. And we're thinking, what impact does it have given its role in our culture and in our fast-paced society? So, I found a few different sources that were looking into this. So first, kind of some background on what has been found about caffeine at like the pharmacodynamic level. So different types of evidence, including from genetics and drug studies, suggest that adenosine plays an important role in regulating our sleep-wake cycle, specifically non-REM sleep. And caffeine is an adenosine receptor antagonist, and that is potentially weakening the EEG markers of non-REM sleep homeostasis when you're asleep and awake. And this kind of suggests that caffeine might be affecting our non-REM sleep quality. And then going into the actual studies that were done with students. So one study in 2022 looked at 886 undergrads. They found that caffeine intake was associated with poor subjective sleep quality. And a study from 2023 of 400 full-time undergrads that found that higher caffeine intake, specifically in the form of sodas, significantly related to poor sleep quality. Other types of caffeinated drinks did not show this relationship. Could be because sodas are more widely available. Maybe they're consumed more often because of their taste, because some people don't really like the taste of coffee or tea. So yeah. And then for the last study, this one was also from 2023. It was a study of 700 medical school students. And it was shown that there's an increase in caffeine intake as sleep quality got worse. So basically, it's as if they were increasing their intake of caffeine to kind of compensate for lack of good sleep. So yeah, these are kind of the different articles that helped our topic.
So basically we were like, okay, so there's a pattern of if you have more caffeine, your sleep quality is going to be worse. And because we are good scientists, we decided that we were going to try and make our own mini experiment where we were going to look at UMass students and their caffeine intake correlated to their sleep quality. We didn't do any experiments. We were just surveying people. Katie was lovely and made a Google form survey that she sent out to a bunch of people. I went through the mortifying ordeal of asking people in person. So it was just to see if we could collect data that aligned with the current research, and if it wasn't aligning, what maybe got lost in translation. So we ended up getting, between the Google Forms and the in-person interviews, a total of 54 responses, which was way more than I thought we were going to get, to be honest.
Me too.
53 of our responses were valid because we had people who were we had one singular person who was giving vague answers that we couldn't use. Our general idea was that we were very hopeful that because we had over 30, we could kind of normalize our data and generalize it to the population. That wasn't the case, but I'm going to get to that later. Our demographics were college-age students at UMass. We were asking this to people on campus. So we had a standardized, both within the form and the questions that I was asking people. We had 5 questions that we asked. Our first question was, how much caffeine do you consume a day on an average day? The second, how much caffeine do you consume over the course of the week, on a regular week, not during finals week. This is important. Third question, during the work week, how many hours of sleep a night do you get on average? Fourth question, over the course of the entire week, so including weekends, how many hours of sleep a night do you get? And what is your overall quality of sleep on a scale of 1 to 10? So we were overall trying to see if there was a pattern between caffeine usage, the amount that people were sleeping, and the quality of that sleep. So we went from there. Because this was a correlational study, we weren't really doing anything crazy, but we just kind of wanted to see if the results that we got would align with the current literature regarding caffeine intake and sleep. We were going to ignore my grammatical slip-up. So our results, and by the way, we are going to attach our results to our post on the discussion board in case you guys are interested. I think this is neat. We had a 0 group where there were people who didn't consume like any coffee during the day or the week. We had a light/medium group where people drank like 2 to 3 cups of coffee a week. And then we had a heavy group, which was 6 or more a week. So our 0 group was right skewed in sleep per night. Our light-medium group was like kind of approaching normal, and so was the heavy group, but overall nothing really had a normal distribution. So there wasn't like a whole lot we could do, because even though we had 54 responses, like none of it really normalized and none of it was over 30, or each group wasn't over 30 so that it could be indicative of like a broader population, which was kind of a bummer. This was kind of a lesson in the fact of a lot of people do science, but sometimes you just don't get the results you want, or any results in general. And that, you know what, that happens sometimes. It's okay.
Yeah,
so kind of, I took the means and standard deviations of each group for caffeine intake, hours of sleep per weeknight, hours of sleep over the whole week, and scale out of 1 to 10 like sleep quality. The numbers, I'm not going to list them out to you because your ears might fall off. It'll be very boring. But essentially what you can get out of it is all of our numbers were really close to each other, to the point that there was like, I didn't even have to run a t-test or anything to know that our data was not, there was no significant difference. Which is okay, you know, we probably could have asked more people, but I'll get to that later. So we did see a pattern of a slight decrease in sleep amounts as caffeine intake increased, but we saw a slight increase in sleep quality, which I thought was really interesting. And the correlation was super weak, so it was just kind of like a bummer. We should have gotten more data. I should have harassed more people. Katie, you should have sent out that survey maybe a little more. Maybe we could have put up posters.
Could have done a little bit more.
I don't know. I mean, this was fun to do though. This was fun. I quite enjoy bothering people, so this is something I think I would enjoy doing.
It's up your alley.
Yes. So kind of relating what we found to current literature, we were doing this because we were like, okay, let's compare UMass students to general, like what we know now. Not really much. This was a big old nothing burger, I can't lie. That's okay. I think we just needed to survey more people. There's also, I almost want to say it seems like people aren't sleeping super well in general. And like we probably could have done something related to screen time. Like even though we were talking about like this class is about drugs and behavior, maybe we could talk about like phone addictions, you know? Like maybe that's an idea for someone else. Yeah. But not for us, because we already did this. So a couple of compounds in our study. I asked primarily physics majors, and the stereotypes about physics majors not sleeping does tend to be true for the most part. Maybe I would have reached more people if I fully just like went to like all different portions of campus. Like I stood in Eisenberg for a minute, in South College, the engineering quad. Like I probably would have gotten a more representative sample. But I didn't do that because that would have been really embarrassing, and I'm confident in myself, but I'm not that confident. We asked these questions the week before finals. which is crunch week for a lot of people. Like, you have projects, you have in-class finals because you don't actually have a final. Like, you have stuff that's due on the last day of class and you're trying to get everything in. So people might have been consuming more caffeine than usual, and they were giving answers that were indicative, or answers that related more to what their, like, emergency crunch time caffeine use looked like, rather than, like, their everyday, normal, my life isn't falling apart kind of caffeine use. I also think a really big thing, I think a lot of people didn't account for caffeine in soda. Like, looking through our survey answers, both the ones that I received in person and the ones that Katie got through the survey, people talked about coffee, and maybe like 3 people mentioned soda, and maybe people are just way healthier than I think they are, but I think people didn't really realize that there is caffeine in, like, a Diet Coke. Right. So I think that people might be consuming more caffeine than they thought they were, so our data could just straight up be wrong, because people were giving us wrong information.
Yeah, there's also caffeine in food too. You don't really take into account.
Yeah, so I don't think people were giving, like, super great answers. But you know what? That's the life of a scientist working with people. That is okay. But yeah, we just kind of wanted to see if we could replicate something that we currently see in literature. So I guess now we'll talk about our own personal experiences with caffeine.
Yes. So me personally, I have caffeine pretty much, like, every day, you know, specifically in, like, the form of a latte, and my sleep quality is definitely inconsistent. Usually, like, I'll have some in the morning, and, like, at night sometimes I'll have caffeine from, like, stressing about assignments, and I mean, the inconsistent sleep could be due to that, or just other things like Reese had mentioned, like, you know, maybe if I'm on my phone a lot when I should be sleeping, that could definitely contribute.
You are quite you were quite bad at that, I will say.
Yes. I'm happy.
You're so really bad at it. I'll, like, wake up, like, in the middle of the night and I'll see you and I'm like, okay.
Yep. Yeah. It's a problem. But yeah, I feel like when I also, like, don't have caffeine during the day, even if I feel like I got, like, a good amount of sleep in hours, like, the quantity was good, like on my Apple Watch it might say I got, like, 8 hours of sleep, and I'm like, that's good, but I'm like still, like, feeling really sleepy, and, like, I'll get, like, tension headaches if I, like, get up and I, like, haven't had caffeine. Like, it feels like first thing in the morning, like, I need to have it or this is gonna happen. So I'm like, okay, maybe caffeine is, like, it is affecting my ability to get, like, good quality sleep, even if the quantity is fine, you know. So, like, I don't know what's going on there. But also, like, I feel like I've developed, like, a caffeine dependence, because I'm in, like, that compulsive stage that we discussed before, where I'm, like, so sleepy, and, like, I just have some kind of caffeinated drink to get me feeling better and feeling more awake, because yeah, like, I'll feel super sleepy and have these tension headaches that are very uncomfortable, and I haven't actually abstained from caffeine in, like, a while, so I don't remember what that experience is actually like, so, like, I don't know, like, maybe the withdrawal symptoms would be worse, but yeah, and also, like, on other things, like, I heard someone say the other day, like, I don't know how people can function without caffeine. It's made me think about, like, how I really can't function well without it, and it's funny because, like, a lot of times I'll have 2 coffees a day instead of 1 like I usually used to, so maybe that's some kind of, like, metabolic tolerance happening, and yeah, so that's kind of my experience with caffeine.
See, like, you say that and you make me feel better about myself and also worse about what I'm gonna say. I'm simply built different.
Yeah.
My caffeine intake looks better. In the past week, given that it has been crunch week, my caffeine intake has gone up significantly, and it's kind of messed with me. But for the most part, I don't drink coffee. I drink, like, chamomile tea. So I drink herbal tea with no caffeine. I think I get pretty decent sleep. It's pretty nice. I'm very happy with my sleep quality when I don't consume any caffeine. My freshman year of college, I drank so much caffeine. It was actually disgusting. I would have like an iced vanilla latte with oat milk every single morning, and then every day at like 3 or 4 p.m. I'd have a Monster. Like, I ended up literally giving myself heart arrhythmia.
Oh my.
Like, we don't have to talk about that.
That's for another episode.
That's for next week's episode. So I completely cut out caffeine my sophomore year, which made my life a lot nicer, but like the withdrawal symptoms were like low-key really bad. But I felt a lot more physically present. This also may be, I will say, because I quit vaping at around the same time. So quitting 2 stimulants at once, like, we can't figure out which one it is. Getting my sleep schedule back on track was like super difficult, and it sucked so bad. So my junior and senior year though, I drink coffee sometimes, like crunch weeks. But now it just makes me like really jittery. I feel like I have an increased sensitivity because I have like a sip of coffee and all of a sudden I'm like vibrating and like jumping or like bouncing off the walls. It also turns me into a night owl very quickly. Like, I'm someone who tries to sleep 10 to 6. Like, within 2 days of me drinking, like, if I do 2 days in a row of drinking coffee, I go from, like, 10 to 6 to, like, 11:30 to, like, 8. So, and then trying to cut back on caffeine again, it's hard to get my sleep schedule back to where it originally was. I work part-time at a diner, so waking up really early in the morning is important. So that's a big thing. But anyway, all of that being said, I think if I had to give advice to people in undergrad regarding caffeine usage, there's a bit of a grind culture at college, especially in STEM fields. Like, Katie, do you agree with this?
I do.
People glorify overwork. Sleep is a luxury. Treat it like a luxury. Take advantage of it. If that means like missing out on like a party maybe, or like it means not procrastinating your work, this is an aggressive call out towards myself, so be it, because I feel like it just better prepares you for like the entire day. So I'm a big proponent of just trying to avoid coffee unless completely necessary. So just throwing that out there for you guys. Thank you so much for listening to our rambling.
Yes.
I hope you guys were inspired by our amazing and groundbreaking research where we learned absolutely nothing. So I thought this was really fun. I actually enjoyed this project. I love like yapping at people, so the interview portion was fun. Way more people don't drink caffeine than I expected.
Me too, yeah.
Like, I wasn't I low-key, like, it made me feel like, damn, like, I wasn't, like, I genuinely am shocked, because I feel like I'm surrounded by so many people who are constantly, like, yes, I had 4 coffees today, like, relax. So, like, it's nice to be, like, there are some people who, like, it's not that serious.
Yeah.
But, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you take anything out of this, don't drink coffee, and also survey more people when doing correlational data. This concludes this week's episode of our Drugs and Behavior podcast. Sip Happens. We'll see you next week, where 2 other people in our class will talk about something that we don't know about. Yay! Alrighty.